Hello, my name is Kirioth, or John for the purpose of this, so we don't get confused. And today we are going to have a chat with James from Seed Studios, and we're going to cover pretty much everything to do with painting, commission painting, how it works, the kind of overall, industry of commission painting itself. And yeah, we're just going to go straight into it. So, hello, James. Thank you for joining me.
Hey,
This is great. We've been planning this for
a while.
ages. We had a whole in-person thing planned out, and then the world went a bit mad, and everything
Apocalyptic.
changed.
Yeah, not the best. No, well, firstly, John, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it a lot. It's a pleasure to have a sort of really in-depth conversation with you. It's just nice to talk shop and talk about painting as well. So it's good.
Especially since this is, if anyone who's been watching the channel will know that my particular personal journey with painting has changed massively over like the last year.
Yeah,
Going from not liking it at all to suddenly going, oh, actually, this is really, really awesome, and I really enjoy this. Commission painting is a side of things that I just have absolutely no experience with. So there's a whole industry around it that I just have not had any personal interaction with. So I've
yeah.
genuinely been looking forward to actually finding out more about how everything works and like the different approaches that are taken and pretty much everything around it. So I guess the place to start would be how you personally got into painting, because you paint yourself and you
I
are
do. Yeah,
a very, very good painter.
I'll
It's
take
probably
that
an understatement,
very,
to be honest, but
very, very humbly. So thank you. Yeah. So everyone has a story of how they got into this hobby. And I've got one as well. My grandfather got me into FX kits when I was a kid. So I literally, he was an anti-aircraft gunner around London during World War II. He knew
oh wow.
every single um, aircraft you could possibly shake a stick at. I've been more trips to Duxford and Bovington than you can care to remember. And I got into FX kits at a very young age. So yeah, I was sticking the wings on Spitfires and Messerschmitts the wrong way round since about 5-6 years old. My nan then, I think, was looking after me one weekend and took me into a charity shop where she was just getting some bits or whatever. And then I got bought, or I found a bag of like second-hand, or like not even second-hand, I think it was like Rogue Trader, like Space Marines basically, in a bag, really painted badly. And the addiction, let's just say, started from there. My mum will never forgive for that, undoubtedly. But before that, on the painting side of things, like I've always been into painting and creative side of things. I think there's you dig back into my sort of family photo book, you'll find photos of me in the garden painting on long rolls of blank wallpaper, just sitting with like 6 colours, just painting. And rather than me, I think, having toys and things like that, my mum would just not force me, but put me in a position where I kind of entertain myself through creative things, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like where the painting side came from. And then at school, I was super into art. It was like something that I was really, really keen on. Involved in music as well. So like I've always had like a creative side of things. And combining that and obviously then finding these incredible miniatures, it was, I was doomed from day one, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I obviously got into painting massively as a kid. Found all these models, started painting, and done the whole going to workshop thing where you were, going to the local GW as a kid with your mates and all of that. So I did all of that. During school, I obviously painted models. I started to get my friends, can you paint this for me? Can you paint this for me? Can you paint this for me? And that's kind of like where painting for other people kind of first had its roots.
Yeah.
And then sixth form, I was doing like quite a bit of painting for friends and gaming on weekends and all that kind of stuff. Then I discovered guitars and music and sort of metalcore, hardcore, and punk and stuff. And then had a massive gap, like everybody does. That all burned in flames after 9 years of dragging myself around different countries and England and all of that, and then came home to my parents in my bedroom with where I started, and went in the loft, found all my old models, and the love for the hobby started again. I started like a YouTube channel, just like a personal hobby YouTube channel, just so as like a creative outlet. And then essentially I started putting models up, and then I got approached by a couple of guys that basically just said, look, we're doing this thing. It's, you know, we're commission painting for other people, blah blah. And by now, my full-time job was I've been a recruitment consultant. Well, I was a recruitment consultant for about 11 years, and essentially, like I started painting for them, and I think I was painting like Black Templar Space Marines, and I was getting an absolute dire amount per model, like for the time I was investing into them. And there was loads of things that just weren't from my business side of doing recruitment day in, day out. There were just so many things that were just extremely unprofessional and just not done to a level that I was happy with personally. So I basically just I thought to myself, right, I can do this better, and that's kind of like where Siege started. It was, you know, I set up the email, I set the name up, blah blah blah, all of that. I started doing the odd project and bits and bobs, and then I noticed that, I think it was back then, it was about 8 years ago, Matt from Mini Wargaming said, look, we really need help painting miniatures. Anybody who's interested, get in touch. I dropped Matt a message. He got back to me fairly quickly. Painted a load of Marines for their sort of their personal sort of mini wargaming army that they've got, and he put a video out, and then I think a week later I woke up with like nearly 1,500 emails.
Jesus.
And it was over a weekend. I was actually, one of my friends, I was going up to Warhammer World for like a Battle Brothers tournament or something, I think it was, at that time, and my phone was literally just going crazy, like mad with emails, like buzzing like crazy. I was like, I didn't know what had happened, and then I obviously saw all the messages like, oh, I've seen your video on Mini Wargaming, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know what to do. So essentially a lot of my friends and my painting at that point was, I was super interested in competitions and competition painting. I always have been, and a couple of my friends that were in that circle and a couple of my friends that were painting, I basically said, look, this has happened. I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to do a business commission painting, and I want to get you guys on board and help me. And that's how it kind of started. 8 years down the line, we're 36 painting team now, 5 staff in the office, including myself. We've got a large social media reach. I think after Games Workshop, we're the biggest social media platform on Instagram other than GW. First ranked on Google, 96% rated on Trustpilot. The only company to have a Trustpilot account in the industry. There's lots of things that we've put into the growth of the business over the years. It's been a lot of hard work. I'm 34. I don't have kids, and I'm not married, so that kind of gives you a bit of an idea. Do you know what I mean? So it's been a lot of work, but I wouldn't change it, being honest with you.
I was gonna say, it seems like in the space of like 8 years, that is a massive amount of expansion from effectively deciding to go it alone and do your thing by yourself with this name to now being in the position that you're in. That's a pretty hefty jump, especially for I mean, as far as I know, as I say, I'm not like massively like up on kind of there are so many different commission painters and services, but I'm struggling to think of a company that is as big as Siege is, whilst still having the level of positive feedback that Siege has.
It's been hard. Like so for the first, I don't paint for the business. I don't paint. I mean, I handed over all my long-term clients to like different members of the team as obviously things got busy. I mean, like this business started in a dingy little flat above a chemist's. Do you know what I mean? And now it's we've had this office for quite a considerable period of time, and in 1 year, I mean, specifically like Joe, like the artist manager in office, he's only been with the business a year, and the other members of staff in the office have only recently come on board in the last year. So up until a year or so ago, I mean, when Joe first came in the office, his words were, "Where's everybody else?" And I was like, "Well, it's just me." And he was like, "What?" Like, you know what I mean? So the thing is like, the growth as a business has been phenomenal. But being frank with you, like I done a 50 hour week in recruitment and ran and grew Siege at the same time. So I was literally getting up at 6:30 in the morning, getting ready for work, having breakfast, all of that malarkey, doing 2-3 hours of work, emails for Siege in the morning prior to my recruitment job, doing a full day's recruitment job, which anyone who knows what that industry is like knows how much work is put into it and what it's like. on my lunch at recruitment, replying to emails for Siege, and then going back to my recruitment work after lunch, working all the way through till 5:30, 6 o'clock, sometimes later, getting home, having candidates from my recruitment job calling me about their interviews the next day while cooking dinner, and then doing Siege emails at the same time until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, rinse and repeat for 2 to 3 years, 7 days a week. It's been a lot of work, being frank with you. And I'm half Spanish by my parents, and I had a proper Spanish upbringing, which means that I learned what work means, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting journey. Like, I took my hand off the tool, so to speak, probably about three years ago. I think it was about 3 years now. Leaping from my full-time recruitment job, which, being, trying to remain humble, I enjoyed recruitment, and I'd done it a certain way and had a certain success in recruitment in that way. But leaving that to jump to do this full time was undoubtedly the scariest thing I've ever done. But there were some circumstances and things with regards to sort of like how I was treated in recruitment that forced me to make that jump, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So, again, all cards on the table. I lost my mortgage as I had a massive end of year bonus basically pulled from under my feet. And at that point, I was just like, well, I've given you a lot of my years of my life, and I've not really gained anything for it. So, it just forced me. I knew how Siege was doing, around the full-time job, and then just decided to just jump in feet first with some speedos and goggles and get on with it. Do you know what I mean? So, it's been a lot of work, being frank. And it's not me trying to pull a sympathy card, believe me, because everything you can imagine you do for something, I've done. And I'd like to. The thing I always say, and again about lots of different companies and lots of things, is there's a difference between a boss and there's a difference between a leader. And I firmly see myself sitting in the camp of a leader, not a boss. The boss has to go on sometimes, because at the end of the day, it is a business and I do have to run it. But at the same time, I am one of the team. I've got the knowledge of painting, and I wouldn't expect any of them to do anything that I wouldn't be prepared to do myself. We've got a very good culture at the business. Like, everyone understands that it's for the greater good of the business. I'm not a Tau fan in the slightest, but that is the culture that we do have. I've got to take my hat off to all the guys that are involved with Siege and that are part of the business, because at the end of the day, Siege wouldn't be the company that it is if it weren't for those. Like, it'd still be me, in a dingy little flat with paintbrushes between my toes, trying to paint everything if it was, So, we are as cheesy and as cliche as it sounds, we are a family and we are a solid team, and Siege is what it is as a result of what goes on in the office, 50%, and also the team, which is 50%. So it's a bit of a synopsis about what we are and how we are as a business.
I have to admit that pulling the extra long days like every day is something that I've was suddenly thrown into a little bit with when the pandemic hit, with attempting to do channel, and still a few contracts held over from when I used to do web design that were still rolling on, most of which have gone now because the companies that I had them with don't exist because of the pandemic, which is a little bit frustrating, but what are you going to do? And trying to look after kids. I did that for the first month, where it was like, okay, I need to look after the 2 children and then do a full day's work in between all of that. That wiped me out after a month of doing that. I don't know that I would physically be capable of doing it for 3-4 years every day non-stop. That's a vast amount of, I was going to say energy, but I guess it's more just commitment and not just refusing to stop than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is the thing. It's it's mindset and it's determination. I think the way I look at things is I was put in a position where I had no other option. Do you know what I mean? And after being loyal and to a company for a very long time, and much like with the situation that's going on now in the pandemic, lots of people are losing their jobs and things as a result of obviously companies having to make cutbacks and things like that. But I was put in a position where I had no other option, and and it is sink or swim. Do you know what I mean? So it's just I stuck some armbands on and got paddling. Do you know? So it's the best way to that I can explain it. But but yeah, like three years of what I did got me to where I am now and got this business to where it is now, and I wouldn't change that for love nor money. Do you know what I mean? So it's been interesting. Let's put it that way.
Difficult but worth it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I guess the one of the other things is, how interesting has it been watching like just commission painting as a whole kind of shift? Because I'm kind of thinking back to like even like 3 or 4 years ago, where commission painting seems to have become more and more popular year on year. Like it seems to have, as an industry, just grown a vast amount with. I was going to say, like, with no discernible kind of reason behind it. That's not really the right way to phrase it, but it feels like it's gone from a thing that exists and you could do to actually suddenly becoming a pretty popular option, and the kind of the supply for it has risen to meet the demand. With there are so many, like one-man band commission painters and people who are doing it as fully as a living or as a company, right down to people who are just covering hobby costs and not really trying to do anything outside of that. What has it been like actually in the middle of all of that, just like exploding over the last few years?
So yeah, the industry has like kind of exploded over the last sort of couple of years, and I think that's mainly because of the interviews and things I've done. That wargaming as a whole, the industry, it is seen as John and Fred in your shed, like a hobby. It's not seen as like this corporate business industry, but with companies like Games Workshop becoming more and more commercialized, integrating with the community way better, and things like that, it is catching and playing catch up with other industries in how it's presented, both commercially, marketed, all these kind of things. There's vast difference between all companies and one-man bands in the industry, and touching upon a point which is really close to my heart is commission painting or miniature painting is a trade, and let's get that down as a fact from day one. Like, it's a skilled trade that is an investment of time that's been built up over years and years and years of practice and honing, much like plumbing, carpentry, electrical work, anything like that. And unfortunately, as a result of it being seen as a hobby, it is devalued in both what the expectations are from a consumer or customer perspective, and also as well from it kind of puts shackles on businesses trying to do well in the industry, because it's seen as this thing that isn't a professional service when it is, if that makes sense. So and again, going back on the point of commercializing, there's vast differences between sizes of companies. You take Games Workshop to the next biggest miniature company, the difference in size and scale and scope and commercial nature is huge. So it's with it being a trade, all other trades across the globe are regulated and have some form of regulation, quality levels, quality standards. They have companies that check up on companies if they're performing badly, all these kind of things. Commission painting doesn't have that, which is why I do refer it to as the Wild West, because look, there's loads of one-man bands out there that offer great service and offer a good product and all of that. And I don't want to come across in a negative way at all whatsoever. But when I say it's the Wild West, it is the Wild West, and that's the way that I would kind of look at it. It's the reason why, as a company, we do pay out such a sizable amount of money each year to Trustpilot to have a Trustpilot account, because it gives that third-party seal of approval. All our testimonials on our website are from legitimate customers, but having it on a platform that is third-party, that involves that person going to the website after they've had a project with us, a class with us, Patreon membership with us, or whatever the case may be, and being able to leave a review and say, I've worked with them, this is, it's something that gives us a form of regulation, if that makes sense. So it is a sizable amount of money to pay out to them, but it's something that I think inherently we have to do as a business for where we are as a company in the industry, and also just to give that sort of tick to potential new customers that they know that they're not dealing with, I have to say it, John and Fred in their sheds. You know what I mean? It's and I'm sorry to any Johns or Freds out there, obviously John. I mean,
I wouldn't dare offer to paint anyone else's model. There's no way.
But that's kind of like my sort of overall thing. It's grown massively over the last couple of years, and I think that is down to social media. It's down to the rise of Games Workshop integrating with the community more. Things like YouTube, things like Instagram, things like social media, giving a much better platform for people to not only showcase their work, but obviously social media gives the ability to sort of bring in business as a result of it as well. So yeah,
it's funny you mentioned the kind of the growth of things like like miniature companies and like the weird intersection of like hobby and an actual industry, because it's when you've got something like, well, like painting models, the vast majority of people are doing it as a way to relax, or because they enjoy painting, or because they are a competition painter, or there's a whole, so many people do it just because it is a hobby, as opposed to because it earns them anything or gets them anything other than the enjoyment of doing it. But at the same time, you've got Siege, which is an actual, full company with a bunch of employees who are doing the same thing, but it is not a hobby. Like, you can't describe it as a hobby when it gets to that level, because it isn't. It is a livelihood for everyone involved.
Yeah, there are members of the team that have kids, rent, mortgage, all these things to pay, and when it comes down to those finite things, you can't class it as just doing it for crisps and beer anymore. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's just the nature of the animal. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
I think it's easy sometimes for people to look at it and go, "Oh, well, they're just charging money for their hobby," and it's like, no, it's not the same thing. As soon as someone starts charging, they are not doing it. They're not doing it as a hobby. They're doing it as a professional. They're doing it for a living, and at that point, I think that's where the line sometimes gets blurred for people, where it's like, well, I do this for fun, so surely that's why other people do it, and
that's fine. Like, there's nothing, being frank, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want to paint some models for your friends, that's perfectly fine. And if you want to get, on the classes that we do, the thing that I talk about most is time, and it's something very close to my heart, because just some personal circumstances and things in my life, but it is the single most greatest commodity. And the thing is, because it's not a physical, tangible object that you can see and manipulate, unfortunately, people don't value it in that, because it's kind of like willful, and I don't mean this in a rude way. It's kind of like willful ignorance. You have this commodity all the time around you, and you spend it without realizing that you don't get any back. Do you know what I mean? And it's no one's at fault. There's no problem or anything at all whatsoever. But it is this thing that you have to realize, that if someone is investing that commodity into something for you, then you shouldn't be giving that away unless it is a friend and you want to willingly give that to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. Like, and I know it's very deep, but it is something that kind of explains why doing it for less than what you're worth is not a good way to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that is another aspect where I think sometimes people find the line blurs, where there is also like, there is the kind of what's like sliding scale of commission painting, where you will have people who do it for a job and do it for a living, but there are also people who don't do it because they want to earn a living from it. They want to cover their hobby costs, or they just enjoy painting, and so they say, well, I like doing it, so I'm not going to charge much. But then by doing that sort of devalues when people are doing it for like a full-time job. Correct, because it's easy to look at one person and go, well, I mean, they're only charging like £3 an hour or whatever. Why are you charging 10 or 15 or 20? And it's like,
I 100% know exactly what you mean. The best way for me to explain it is, and I always talk about the car industry because it's something that is a good example of it, and is a good way for me to explain it. So you have car companies that they all produce the same thing: 4 wheels, chassis, and extra bits and bobs. All right, okay. But if you had a group of those companies that decided, oh, we just like building cars because it's fun and we enjoy doing it, and didn't charge a lot for doing it, a lot of consumers would think, well, it's the same thing. Why I'm just going to buy it from them. But why do these other car companies charge this much for that? Because, do you know what I mean? It's the exact same sort of thing. That's the type of industry that it is, but the perception from a consumer when you go into the car industry is it's a car. Yeah, it has this manufacturer has the same things: 4 wheels, a chassis. This company has 4 wheels and a chassis. Why is the value so different? It's because it's perception of brand, and it's perception of quality, and it's the client's experience of dealing with that company. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really interesting conversation that I love having, because wargaming industry, coming from a recruitment industry, when I recruited for mechanical and electrical engineers and other things, blah, blah, like coming from that sort of super clerical professional industry, and then trying to build a business in this industry and building a business in this industry, the difference in community and perception is like vast. Like it's just vast, So yeah, it's a very interesting one.
it's something that was like properly brought home to me when like someone who I'd follow on Twitter who follows me back. I've had like some really good interactions with them. They're a really good converter and they're a decent painter, and they decided they wanted to offload some models because they wanted to get something else, and they put up a knight they converted, and they'd spend hours converting it, and they'd spend hours painting it, and then they put it up and they were like, I mean, probably like 70 quid should be fine for this, right? And I remember immediately messaging them and going, no, you've spent hours on this. It's super well converted. There's a bunch of different parts. The paint scheme is perfect for like 8 different armies. You're massively undervaluing not just the model itself, but the amount of time you've put into it. Like it's worth more than just. It's worth more than that. No matter how you shake it, it's worth more than that. And they said, well, I didn't think, it's not like pro painted or anything, so I didn't think it was worth much. And it's like, no. That's not how that works at all. You've got to look at what you've put into it, whether it's something that people can use, whether it's up to a certain standard, and when it was like something as well converted and clearly a ton of time was spent. Like, people will order conversions from people. Outside of commission painting, there are also like entire conversion services that are available as well. And, you know, there are conversions that I'd seen that were not even close to the quality of this, but it was just the basis of, I did it for fun and it wasn't, you know, it's not that great, so this super low entry is fine. And it's just that thing of undervaluing yourself and undervaluing your time. And
100%. It all goes back to that, it not being a physical thing that you can see and manipulate. But yeah, it's a very interesting industry. Like, I wouldn't change the last 8 years for anything. Like, I've been in a super corporate environment before, and I've been in this industry, and I would take this industry every time without a shadow of doubt, even with all of its intricacies and all of its quirks and all those things. I come to work every day, and I don't feel like it's work, even though that it is. And all my years in recruitment, it felt like work. You know what I mean? And I'm still doing exactly the same things, client management and all these different bits and bobs. And it feels like it's my passion and my love. Does that make sense? Like,
definitely.
So yeah.
It makes a massive difference when you can sit down at the end of the day and go, oh, I don't actually feel like I've been busy, but I don't feel like I've kind of worked necessarily. I've just enjoyed myself.
There are the days, I promise you. There are the days. But no, it's an interesting one. Like, clients are great, you know, and the thing is, the thing I love is that how passionate each client is about their project, what they want to get done. The unique things that we've done over the last couple of years have just been crazy. Like, we've had armies themed of bacon. Like, we've had honestly, you would not believe some of the things that we've done, like, for clients, you know. And it's just it's a great community, great industry. And we love to give back, like, with all the things we do with the classes, with the conventions we go to, with the tuition, and obviously the service and all of that. But it's really interesting. I say this to the guys in the office all the time. Like, I still feel that Siege is this company that's in my little flat when I started years and years ago. Like, I don't see it as the perception of what other people see it as. And I try and remain humble to it, because we had someone who came to the office for an interview, as a painter, and they were like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm at the office," but I'm like, it's just an office, dude. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, but it's like, but do you know what I mean? So it's really hard for me, because I have to remove myself from the situation and see it from where it's at now. Do you know what I mean? But like, I still see it because I am so firmly invested into it, and I'm not away from the business. You know, and I do have my hand is on the steering wheel still. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to see it as the thing that it's perceived as now. I still see it as my little. It's like a parent. You know what I mean? Like, you still see your grown-up, like, 25-year-old son or whatever as like your little baby boy. It's exactly the same kind. It's exactly the same kind of connotation. So yeah, it's just an interesting one.
I'm having that exact thing at the moment, because my eldest daughter's going to school she's actually going to start school in September, and I keep looking at her going, no, but you can't. You're still only like this big. You can't possibly like go somewhere like that all day. What are you talking about? It's not. I mean, obviously not accurate, because she's 4.5 years old, but still. I also have the same a similar thing where sometimes I sort of forget that whilst I have this channel and I talk about 40k all the time, and I put painting videos up and stuff, I go to like Warhammer World and things, and I'll meet people for the first time and go, I watch the channel, and I'm like, what? Oh yeah. Oh, why are you talking to me though? I'm like, there's like actual talented people over there. You should go and talk to them. Don't come here. It's fine, but it's nice to meet you. But I just talk. I don't really. Yeah, sure. It's like
100%. I know exactly what you mean. Like it's purely just from not from meeting people, because I don't. Obviously, we're doing this, but I don't normally. I've done a couple of podcast things. I don't normally. I'll always, whenever I do the videos on the channel, I'm always behind the camera. Do you know what I mean? So it's. If I don't talk when I go to events, people I kind of can blend in. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And plus, you don't want to hear this dodgy Essex accent all the time anyway. So, do you know what I mean? So yeah. But like, the industry is really good. Like, I say it's like the Wild West, but there's a lot of, being frank, there's a lot of good people out there doing good work. But on the other side, with it being like the Wild West, you do have to be careful where you go and what you do. You know what I mean? It's just always look for reviews, look for things that are demonstrable, tangible, success in projects and things like that. And that's the best thing I'd recommend to anyone.
Yeah.
We often get a lot of people, and the first time clients to our business go, it's the first time I'm taking a commission out. Like, I don't know really what to ask for and all this kind of stuff. And you kind of have to hold their hand and walk their way through it, which we don't mind doing at all in the slightest, But we have a certain set way of doing things that's regulated, that's all in writing and all that kind of stuff. We get loads of people that message on sort of Instagram Messenger or on Facebook and all these kind of things, and the only point of contact with the business is our website, because again, I personally find that social media messaging devalues the service, and I personally find that it makes people feel like they're speaking to their best friend. Do you know what I mean? So that it's just, we have a certain way of doing things. So it's just, I don't know, like it's a very, like I said, because it's so varied in the way that and the experiences that consumers will have. It's hard to assess kind of what other people do. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I'm literally I eat, sleep, live and breathe obviously the process that we do here. Do you know what I mean? So it feels second nature to think of any other method, I suppose. But
I feel like as well when it comes to like people asking for quotes or working out what they want to do with armies or like the process that they want to go through, it's so much easier to actually know what people want if they essentially have to fill out something that says, I want this, I would like that, do you want this, that, or the other thing? And they have to go, yes, no, yes, no. When it comes to things like Twitter and Instagram and even just like random emails that are sent, there can be such a huge gap between what is said and what is unsaid. Like,
yeah.
I'd like blood angels. Okay, what about all these different things? Oh, I didn't realise I had to pick between those. Okay, I'm not sure. Like, I think everything needs to be like regimented, doesn't it? So you actually know what they want. Otherwise, you could end up like partway through something and find, oh, they didn't mention this key element that they really want in this force.
It happens all the time. Like, honestly, my favourite one is you get an inquiry through and it's just, I want this box. Okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
I want this box. Okay, fine. It's we have certain things we put on our website to try and narrow that down as close as possible. Just purely it's just so we can get back to the client with exactly what they want as quick as possible. Because we are a fully broken down service, and you can we are completely tailored to you as a customer. So you can literally ask for whatever you want, and it's all fully broken down in what you pay for, and it's all explained and blah blah. But unless we know those things, like we can't put that into your quote. We can't do that. But that's just something that to the unseen eye of people on the internet, you don't see on a day-to-day basis. You don't see any of that. That conversation or any of that kind of stuff, and you just see these models or these miniatures that are finished, but the backstory to the completion of those can be vast. And then on the flip side of that, we have the most, because everyone is super passionate about their armies and and their lord or their character that's got to have this specific weapon and it's got to have this. You get the clients which are like, it's got to be this, and we're like, perfect. Like that's
Yeah.
incredible. Do you know what I mean? So the scope is from that to the other one where it's kind of just have this box. Do you know? So,
Yeah.
so it's a real interesting one. But again, it's just part and parcel of the daily job. And you can't really get away from it if you're providing a service like this, or you just have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's so much more like satisfying though when you get like an inquiry or request through, and someone is literally like, this is the list of kits, this is the bits I want from this kit on this, I want this exact thing here, and you can just go, awesome, brilliant. That's it. I can do that right now, and then everything else, like with the kind of I want the box. It's like, okay, and anything outside of that, actually that is the thing. If someone just says I want this box, and then you get like say I want this blue and I want the other side red, how much like detail do you then have to go? Like, is it a case of calling and having to go, okay, you need to walk me through?
Yeah, I mean,
all of these.
It varies again. As I say, like we've got a lot of clients that are taking out multiple projects across various armies with us, and we kind of like. It sounds a bit regimented, but we kind of indoctrinate them in that process of doing things as a customer, so that it teaches them the next time they want something, they know the process to go through from start to finish. Do you know what I mean? Like but again, we get clients that return to the business time after time, and they just still go, I want this box. So we have to go, right, okay, you need to do this. Do you know what I mean? So it is a funny one. Like you have to get down to the nitty gritty, because if you don't ask the question, you're never gonna. The worst thing for us as a business, and I think for any painter, is that you get a brief or you get a spec and it doesn't include something that deep at heart that client wants, and if they don't tell you, you're not going to put it on the project or put it on the model. So and mitigating that disappointment, I think, is the real battle that we have here in office, or that the painters have when it comes to dealing with specs. And even when I was on the tools, getting a spec and reading it and being like, right, okay, cool, well, do they want this or do they want this? We try and get them to be as black and white as possible, and as be as like, right, I want this, and there will still be something that they've just maybe not included, or they assume that perhaps it's going to be taken for granted because they love their army, they know their army like the back of their hand, or why wouldn't it have that? Do you know what I mean? So it's a very, you really do, and it does become like Wimbledon. You do have to go backwards and forwards, and again, having the infrastructure in place to have a team in the office that do that on a day-to-day basis is something that I think, being humble and being respectful to everybody else in the industry is something that does hopefully make Siege stand out, that we have got that infrastructure in place, and we have got those years of doing that allows us to work on those projects that are maybe a little bit more difficult, or those customers that are really precise with what they want. Do you know what I mean? So
it's actually not just feasible, but fully baked into the process that you can keep going back and going back and going back and really properly nailing down literally every little thing that they want without having to have that risk of getting like part way through and going, okay, here we are, and them going, you've missed this out because it didn't come up, or because if maybe you pressed like 2 or 3 more times, then maybe you would have got there. But it's far less likely if you have people there who can just constantly keep going.
100%, 100 million%. Like it's I think one of the key things is making sure the customer gets exactly, it is creating in their mind what they put on paper or in email. It's creating the thing that they've been dreaming of. Do you know what I mean? And that it's taking something that isn't physical, that isn't manifested, and creating that. And that whole process involves a lot of regimentation. It involves a lot of going backwards and forwards and stuff. And it's really integral to producing good quality miniatures, and also providing a second to none service. Do you know what I mean? It's the way of doing it, in my personal opinion. So yeah.
Have you? I'm curious now. Have you ever had someone who has just given you, or just said, "I want this box. Do what you like with it"?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like we had a sisters project. So Amy, one of our team members, or the client, has taken out various projects with us previously, and they wanted to collect sisters, and they just said, "Look, this is my list of miniatures. I have no idea. I want an order that allows me to use all of the rules in the codex, because undoubtedly they love using the Covent traits to their ability, to their benefit.
Yeah.
That makes so that and I said to Amy, I said, look, well, you've got free reign. Choose a scheme. go ham. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's great that we have, and it's very humbling that we have that belief in what we can do as a business, and also that we have clients that are willing to not only take a project with us, that are willing to then give us that creative and artistic license.
Yeah, that shows a significant level of trust as well, which has got to feel good, because they've obviously
it's very humbling.
Yeah, they've had enough good experiences, or like properly great experiences, to go, you know what, despite how much I love having these models and playing with these models and owning them and displaying them, actually giving them entirely over to someone else and going, you do what you want with them. The only caveat is that I want to be able to use all the abilities in some way. Just make it so that they are unique enough that I can pick and choose from game to game. Yeah, that I feel like that's got to have been a moment where you're like, okay, this is properly working for this.
100%. There have been so many moments and again, because I have literally had a brick on the accelerator when it comes to growing this business and sort of doing what I've done. There have been so many moments over the years where I have had to just take a second and go, like, wow, do you know what I mean? Like, and like when we done Iron Skull, which is the branded painting competition that we do, we started this year. Obviously, everything that's gone on has gone a bit mad, but at that, like, I was like, it was really humbling to just kind of see how the community reacted to us doing that. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's been so many things. Like, even when Joe came in the office and went, "Where's everybody?" I went, well, actually, yeah, where is everybody? Do you know what I mean? I do need help here. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's been, as I said, 34. I'm not married. I don't have kids, and there's a reason for that. So but yeah, the thing is, you say that about obviously having the confidence in the brand and the business to be able to do projects like that. But we have some. I mentioned, Ben, one of our painters, years and years ago, early on, we had the most crazy spec in the world. Like, we have got an army, and you can, if anyone watching who wants to see a crazy army, like, you can look on our channel on YouTube, and you can see that we've created several phases of a bacon-themed Space Marine army, and it's the most bonkers thing that we've ever, like, honestly.
I can't get my head around that.
So all we got from this client was literally like, we had the first phase and came through, and we were like, okay, this is a bit crazy, but the spec was literally a picture of rashers of bacon, and he said, I want an army themed on that. And I was like, this has got to be a joke. Like,
yeah.
So I gave the spec I gave the project to Ben, and he worked on it, and he just done a phenomenal thing. He painted like a nice maroon colour. The trims on the shoulder pads were like a kind of like a beige kind of fat kind of colour. And then all the purity seals were rashers of bacon. Like, the sergeant in Marine Squad had like a squeegee bottle of ketchup, and he had a bacon butty in his hand. Like, there's like, it's crazy stuff. And we have some bonkers clients that, like, we've done angry Marine armies in the past. We've done, do you know what I mean? Like, like goth Celestines. Do you know what I mean? Like just like crazy things. And it's just like, we, getting the ability to get those projects from clients, do them and create them for people, and at the same time turn their mad idea into reality is just like the most entertaining thing in the world. Do you know what I mean? So
I really like the mental image of you approaching Ben and being like, okay, here's the brief, and him just going, what?
I know.
What?
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, there's like, we thought, we'd done the first phase of that army, and we're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. Like, he came back and done 2 more, and then every spec after that, there was less and less information. Like, the first one literally had like a section of text: I want an army themed after bacon. Here's a picture of some rashers of bacon. The next one that came through literally had a pig. That's it. Like,
just
that.
I mean?
Like, it was honestly, So there's some hilarious things, but at the same time, we also get to produce loads of models and armies where we incorporate narrative, incorporate the lore, incorporate the background, incorporate the rich diversity that there is in the 40k universe, and touching upon that, we are, I say we're stigmatized as a bit of a 40k studio because we do put out a lot of 40k stuff. Being the biggest game, obviously, with Ninth just dropping, it's just going to get even more dominant.
That's the thing. I would honestly say to anyone who kind of looks at commission painters or studios and kind of goes, oh, well, it looks like you only do this one thing. It's the most popular tabletop game. Like, there's a reason it's the one that appears most often. That is because the most people play it by far, and if more people play that thing than anything else, it kind of follows that is going to be the thing that is commission painted the most, because it's everywhere. The growth, especially like over the last edition, for Games Workshop, the growth of Games Workshop and 40k, and to an extent like Age of Sigmar as well, but 40k especially, has just gone from strength to ridiculous strength over the last couple of years,
100%.
and it's so far beyond every other tabletop wargame at this point in terms of size that there is just no way that you're going to see like more, I don't know, like Malefax or Infinity than you are 40k. It's just not going to happen.
I think that's down to look. You've got to take your hat off to and I'm a huge business hat off and siege hat off aside, and this is just me as a hobbyist and as a painter speaking. Like, you have to take your hat off to GW for the narrative and the richness. Like, the models are phenomenal. They're leagues in front of everybody else in miniature production. That's evident. But the thing that keeps people addicted and I say addicted because addiction is just passion about something. That's all it is. But the reality is the reason that people go back to it is that they immerse themselves into the rich narrative of the game, and they find something within that narrative that they can relate to. And that's why like, for example, Joe in the office likes Nurgle, for example, likes Dark Angels. I don't know why, but still, but but
they're both chaos. It's fun.
So but like. Myself, obviously, anyone who knows me well enough knows I'm like the biggest Blood Angel fanboy ever. But the reality is that everyone finds something in the narrative that they are passionate about, and because it has that deep, rich level of importance to people, that the interest of the game immediately skyrockets. I love Infinity, I love Malifaux, I love all these other games. They're really cool. The models, some of the models are really cool, blah blah. But it doesn't have that captivating, rich narrative that so many people fall in love with. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing for me. I think that makes 40k such a dominant game, apart from the models and apart from all those kind of things, the artwork and all these other bits and bobs that people literally fall in love with. I'm a huge fan of Age of Sigmar. Like, I don't play it. I've not got an army of it, but I can look at the models and I can be like, they are incredible. Like, I genuinely, as much as I love 8 foot tall bolter wielding Space Marines, like, I absolutely love the miniatures from Age of Sigmar because they, genuinely speaking, they are, I think, and this is just opinionated, I think that they're better in design and better in the way they look and all these kind of things. I think they're great as miniatures. But for me, because it's a new game or a newer game, it's after the old world and all that, I still don't think it has, per se for me, the most captivating narrative and background like 40k. But that will come with time, because what undoubtedly is going to happen is over the years that come forward as time passes, Age of Sigmar will develop that rich narrative that 40k has got, and people will fall in love with elves, or fall in love with Oryx, or fall in love with any of the races, like they have done with Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space, all these different things. You know what I mean? So I think you'll see a balance whereby 40k for commission painting, going back to the subject at hand, where 40k and Age of Sigmar are the same because they've developed that rich narrative that it's got. I think it's really that's
and if they continue to release models for Age of Sigmar of the quality that they've been since that launched, I mean, with things like the Nighthaunt, it's one of the best armies that Games Workshop has ever produced. It's so easy to get a really good looking army without like going massively overboard in terms of technique or even being like an experienced painter, but then you can take it and make it so much more. It's an army that looks good whether it's been painted very quickly with like contrast, or whether it has had the attention of like, I think was it Amy with you guys that did a Nighthaunt Force a while ago, or was it
she's got some personal Stormcasts which are really really lovely. I don't think we've done a Nighthaunt army as of yet. Like, again, and touch it. We just don't get as much Age of Sigmar. As much as we'd love to. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we'd love to do it. We don't get as much. So I think we've done, like, Rich, one of our painters, has got some personal Nighthaunt that he's done. We've done a big charity raffle for various charities recently where he gave away one of his Nighthaunt models, I think. So it might have been that you may well have seen. But yeah, like, we like Age of Sigmar. We will do anything. Like, you've got members of the team that love historical models like bolt action, like even Airfix kits or scale modelling and this kind of stuff. But you don't get the demographic of customer that goes, I want a 1944 late war Tiger 1. You just don't get that. I mean, like, it doesn't. We would love to get that. My granddad would be giving me a thumbs up from his grave if that came in. Do you know what I mean? But like, we just don't get that. It's a shame, but But we'll paint anything, as I'm sure anyone who knows what the industry is really like will understand. So yeah. But yeah, it's a really, really good. I love the industry. I'm super passionate about it. I think there's various, whether you're someone in their bedroom starting out or whether you are a big company, there's so much pleasure that comes from it for giving people what they dream of. You know what I mean? And I think it's an interesting time with the way that GW is moving. Obviously, they're the flag bearer of the industry for everyone else. And being frank, I have to take my hat off that I wouldn't have a business that I do, or my other business, I'd say, because I wouldn't have those businesses if GW wasn't such a driving force in the industry. So you have to thank them for that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's the kind of the number of like, whether it's YouTube channels or entire other companies, like third party like bits manufacturers, stuff like that. The number of people that directly earn like a full living just because Games Workshop are doing a good job is kind of ridiculous. It's not just their employees that are getting so much from them, like having this growth and this kind of sustained development. There's so many people outside of it. They are directly responsible for so many like success stories that aren't even like on their payroll.
It's the interesting thing is it's actually a very difficult position to be in, because they've got to be the ones that are driving the industry. Do you know what I mean? And decisions that they make have ripples down to everybody else. Do you know what I mean? So as much as you've got to take your hat off, there is a bit of like, I wouldn't want to be in that position because it is like that. Do you know what I mean? And like the thing is, I think that the industry in general will get way busier, because if you see what they're doing with their digital side and the media side of things, like the new trailer for 40K was just like everything that my childhood had been waiting for, like a film or a short or whatever. We've had various things that have been released, like obviously the Ultramarine film and other bits and bobs. But generally speaking, like I think probably the thing that I'm excited for the most is the next sort of like 3 to 5 years and where things are going to go. I am waiting for the day that I can get some of my mates, go down Cineworld or go down the cinema and watch a feature film in the cinema. That is what I've been wanting and waiting for since the very first time I picked up the Angels of Death book in a GW store years and years ago. Yeah. Like it's everything I've ever wanted. And I think what we'll notice is like that the industry will explode when that happens, because so many more people will be immersed into that rich narrative that that is being created, whether it's Age of Sigmar or whether it's 40K or whether it's Necromunda or whether it's any of these different bits and bobs. Like that for me, when we get to that precipice and when we tip over that precipice of that point, our industry will go atomic. Do you know what I mean? And I think going back to the point at hand, which is the reason why a lot of people value this hobby and take it so passionately is because it is a physical thing. So you invest your time into it and you have something with it. Like I used to play computer games as a kid all the time when I was a kid, and I love them. But if I played them now, I won't have a life. Do you know what I mean? So the thing is, and it's good. Like everyone enjoys it. It's a form of escapism. But the beauty of miniature painting, whether it's 40K, Games Workshop Infinity, or even your board game miniatures for your board game, it's something that you've always got for what you've invested in that time frame. Does that make sense? And I think with things like, for example, games having payment options and you've got to pay to buy this gun or pay to buy this. And it is kind of similar with miniatures where you've got to, if you are competitive and you are doing, like, for example, Lawrence Tabletop or any of the other sort of like well-known sort of competitive gamers that are out there, like you are following that meta. So you are kind of doing the same thing. But the benefit of it is that you still do have that beautiful army once all that is said and done. You've still got that thing that you know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing. Like, you know, I think all of the different areas, I think it won't be long till we see sort of esports for the gaming. I think that's where the industry is going for that, where especially with Ninth being way more streamlined for playing and for the tournament scene. Yeah, I think you know, it's that commercial nature of the industry. It is literally on the cusp of happening, but from the hobby industry that it's been seen as for a very, very long time. It's a massively exciting time to be in the industry, like hugely.
That's actually, you mentioned that is kind of one of the things that I kind of meant to bring up earlier. That is like not like a hypocrisy thing, but it's the the way that some people view things like commission painting is still a hobby, but the actual industry that provides all of these models, you would never call Games Workshop, like, what they do, a hobby. Like, the models they produce and the game they make makes up a hobby, but the actual company itself, you're not looking at them going, oh, they're just doing it because they enjoy it. It's like, no, it's a massive company that's, that just is worth more and more month on month and is massively driving profits and hiring and expansion. You're not looking at that and going, oh, it's just a hobby. It's just the things they make that up.
Yeah.
But it's still sometimes occasionally like you'll see someone go, well, I mean, commission painting is fine, but it's just doing a hobby. It's like, no, you can't have that be not a hobby, and also like Games Workshop be an industry. They both are. They both have to be, just by the fact that they are things that cost time, that cost money, that require talent. I guess that's the other thing as well with things like, every now and again I'll see someone go, oh, I asked for a quote from somewhere or something, and it seems a bit high. And it's like, is it a bit high, or is it that person has spent years, literal years, getting good enough to be able to give you exactly what you want in miniature form?
Exactly, yeah. It is that, and it's the same. But again, it's going back. I know we've touched upon it, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's that valuing of that commodity that's not tangible. Some people will look at a miniature and be like, oh, it's a £20 miniature. Why does it cost X amount to paint it? Do you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is like, the reality is that the miniature, quite frankly, and I say this to clients all the time, and I'm anyone who knows me knows I'm very black and white, very to the point, because I don't want to give people false expectations or put people in a position where they think I've said a certain thing, or think, I will say it as it is. Like, the paint and materials, quite frankly, for commission painting is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You are not paying for paint. You are not paying for materials. You are paying for time, skill, and labour. That's the three things you're paying for. And a £2.50 pot of paint is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Like, it really is. But it is that. And we go to conventions all the time. People see stuff in the cabinet and like, they're like, oh, I love that, blah, blah. I'd love to have that. How much is that? You tell them, and like, oh, I didn't realise it was that much. I was like, well, 25 hours has been spent on that. If you were working your job, how much would you earn in 25 hours? You don't quibble when a plumber comes around your house. You don't quibble when an electrician comes to put a new socket in your garden shed. It's exactly the same thing. Yeah. But because of our industry, and I think because it isn't as commercialised, there is that, it's a hobby, and like it's not that, So like it's just it's really interesting.
I think it's the same for, like, I'd say pretty much all art. It's like you are paying for the time spent that person spends making that piece for you, whether it's doing like a painting on canvas or painting a miniature. You are paying for that time, but there is also a build-up. You have to get to the point of being able to produce exactly what someone wants, and that has to come into effect somewhere. It's like you have to make it so that all of that time spent getting to your model is still a consideration when it comes to paying for that model, because if you just go to someone who's never painted before and spent the same, you would obviously be very disappointed. They could still spend 25 hours, but it would not look what you wanted it to look like. Whereas if you go to someone who has been painting for years and has like honed it to the point where you can say, I want this exact thing, and then they take 25 hours and you get exactly what you asked for, no variation, and it's perfect. Like, that isn't just like, it's not just a kind of a payment for that thing. It's all encompassing. It's all centered around not just talent, but just time. Everything takes time, whether it's right in that moment or in the years before getting to the point of being able to do it in the first place.
All of this is with the caveat of it's art, and at the end of the day, art is in the eye of the beholder. So a good example is like, look, the Mona Lisa as a painting is worth millions. Like but it's this tiny little thing, and the materials that make it cost literally nothing. Like, you can buy canvas, you can buy oil paints, you can buy that. One person will look at the Mona Lisa and be like, that painting's incredible, I love it. The other person will look at it and be like, I don't see the point. Now, if you were to say to people, well, how much would you pay for that, and how much would you pay for that, the perception of that is completely different on those two people, because their value of it is completely different. Does that make sense? So like, it's I know we're talking about fine art here and everything, but within the realms of miniature painting, it's the same. If someone painted, like if I painted Lionel Johnson for Joe in the office, he would value that way more than someone who collects Night Lords or someone that collects a different faction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've got all of that in the whole mix of people seeing it as a hobby, people not appreciating the skill that's involved, all that kind of stuff. So there's so many variables that you have to tick with different people. It's almost like getting your magnet and finding that needle in the haystack, so to speak. You've got to match that person to what they want and their expectations, and most importantly, what they want to pay for it. Do you know what I mean? Some people will see something and go, I love that box art, I really want it, but I only want to pay this much. Well, that's not going to work for you. But if you want, do you know what I mean? So it's so convoluted in different ways, but you have to navigate your way through it. It's just
and then there's like an entire backdrop of also the expectation gained from seeing other people like give quoted prices just on social media or whatever that are well below what they should charge for their work, because they have skill and talent themselves and they've been painted for years themselves, but they don't think that they should charge that much because it's just painting. And it's like, but it's not just painting, it's time.
The way to put it is like, I personally have a very busy week with all the things that I'm involved with and do. But like the thing is, if someone would say to me, I'll give you another day a week, I'll give you 24 hours more a week, how much would you pay for that? Do you know what I mean? Like, that for me would have a certain price. And it's the same thing with any other thing. Like if you go buy a car, if you go buy a house, if you go buy clothes, if you go buy shoes, whatever, you have if I was to get that, I'd be willing to do this much. Do you know what I mean? So it's finding those tick boxes for that relevant customer, and also finding the right customers for your business. Do you know what I mean? If you want to paint, for your friends, paint for your friends. There's nothing wrong with that in the slightest. All right, okay. Your friends won't pay the prices that you want people to pay to value your time. That's just factual. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's part of it, But another interesting thing about that we haven't spoken about is obviously like the way that the community and that people trying to improve their painting has grown massively over the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
There's so many people offering courses and tuition now, be it on Patreon, be it on physical classes, be it on things, and I think that's a really good thing. Like, I think someone asked me like, "Oh, do you think that's a negative for like sort of commission painting?" And I really don't. And I think it goes back down to the fact that there is one thing that no company on earth can manufacture, that we've already spoken about, or give people more of, which is time.
Yeah.
If you have kids, if you have a busy job, if I couldn't bang out armies when I was doing 60 hours a week in recruitment. I struggled to do it. It took me like 6 months. Anyone who knows me well knows my original Blood Angel army in smaller Mark 7, Mark 8 Marines. It will never probably be finished because I don't have time. Do you know what I mean? Like people's skill getting better is a great thing for the hobby, for the community, for all these different things. But there is nothing that will get rid of the ability to contact a business or contact someone and go, I haven't got time to do this. Can you do it for me?
Yeah.
And people getting better, their individual skill levels will never mitigate or get rid of that.
The people who have the time to sit and practice painting and get better and better, they're not the people who have who don't have the time to bang out an entire army. It's not the same, like, it's not the same division of time. It's like, I'm lucky enough to be in a position where if I really wanted to, I could probably get an army done in a couple of weeks if I had the motivation to sit and paint that long. But like, I know a good number of people who the idea of painting more than one model a month would be amazing. They would love that. It would be great. Yeah. Those are the people who want to have amazingly painted, like, beautiful armies, but realistically just do not have time to do it. And it's kind of a funny situation where at the moment I think there is no better time to pick up painting miniatures.
Undoubtedly. Yeah,
there's so many resources in so many different places, so many different products, so many different brands, and you can find exactly the right brush for what you want to do. You can find exactly the right paints for what you want to do. Also, the number of miniatures that are available is vast. You can, no matter what you want, you can find the perfect model that you want to paint. There is absolutely no better time to learn to do it, but at the same time, there's also so many people who just do not have time for that, and would find it so much easier, and do find it so much more like plausible to go to Siege and go, I really want this army. I'm never going to be able to paint this. I do not have the time. This is exactly what I want. And they will get exactly what they want. And they, being able to learn is great, but if you don't have time, you do not have time.
Yeah, that is the thing. I think like anyone who's watching this who is either doing it for their mates or is like a one-man band or anything, I always look back to where things started, and I'm like, it was tough. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know how hard it is. Do you know what I mean? And I think any of the team that you'd speak to, or whatever, would understand that understanding what it's like to be that person individually. And having someone steering it with that knowledge and experience, I think it brings a lot of benefits for working under the banner of Siege and working for Siege. You know what I mean? Like, and again, one-man bands, it's great, and I've got massive. I take my hat off for working as hard as you do, because I've been there and I've done it. But it's just nowadays, like with that management of having kids or having a full-time job and trying to do it and all of that. Like I look back now, being honest, I'm like, I don't know how I had the energy to do it. You know what I mean? Like, but it is really, really interesting. But like, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you want to ask, John, or if there's anything you want to know that I can sort of like cover for you, or like.
Well, I think something that would be worth going over is like the kind of like the scope of what you do at Siege, like the kind of like everything from how things like conversions were approached to like the kind of different levels in terms of like tabletop to. That's actually something I was going to say as well. Sometimes you just want an amazingly painted model that you look at and you go, I would love to be able to paint that. I just know that would take me months, but I want it, and I want a display thing that I can have there. That's something that increasingly I've been toying with since I started painting more creature caster stuff, because
their models are brilliant. Honestly,
they're amazing. But
we done one of the Night Lords. There's a Night Lord army we literally finished a couple of weeks ago, and Rich done an incredible creature cast. It looks like a vampire almost, like a huge. The model was incredible. Like, honestly, like if for anyone watching who hasn't checked out creature cast, go have a look, because they are amazing. Like, they are absolutely incredible. Sorry for a little plug, but they are great. Like, they really are.
Sometimes you just want a display piece, something that is exceptionally painted that you can just have, even if you don't use. Like, I've got, I don't know how many models that I don't actually use, but I don't want to get rid of because I like them, and the ones I've painted are ones that like people have like given to me, and I still want them, but you just sometimes want like a centerpiece thing of, this is, even if it's the only thing you get commission painted, it's like, this is of exceptional quality, and it can just sit there and look amazing, and I didn't have to spend 2,000 hours making it look not as good as it does right now.
Exactly. I think that's a lot of things, because of what we were saying about obviously how deep the background is in 40k, Age of Sigmar, whatever. Like, you can pick a character and go, right, I love that character, I want that model, not to game with, but to sit on my shelf. And we do have a lot of that. Like, a lot of people, as a business, we are a character specialist. Like, obviously, without trying to do the hardest plug ever, like, the team here at Siege are all competition winners, competition finalists, ex-industry professional painters for the leading company in the industry, and also they come from sort of like different areas of the industry as well. Like, and we do work specifically on characters. They are something that we all absolutely love to work on, and bring in those favourite personalities that everyone cherishes and loves to life. We for example, we've done a Dawn character. Will done this amazing Dawn character. The client wanted it to look like a Dawn that had been obviously hidden, whatever. He's come back. Yeah. And he had like a bionic hand. He was in black armor as well, like eye patched a lot. It looked, and we get to make these really cool alternate characters. It's being able to specialize in that, as well as doing big armies or small projects as well, gives us a great scope for customers to be able to go, I want this model in the artwork. I want you to bring it to life, and we go bang, and that's something that we love doing, But yeah, in answer to your question, like, it is a very, very good thing to be able to do that for people. I think, like, it's to be able to bring those personalities and characters to life. For people that don't have the skill specifically to do it, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but yeah, it's a really good thing to do.
So it's like things like conversions is, I think, well, a perfect thing to touch on, because that is 90% of my hobby time is conversions.
I've seen your nights.
I can't leave a model alone. I have to mess with it. There's just no way of me putting something together without going, yeah, but if I did that and I took that away and I did that as well, that would look way way better. When it comes to like that side of things, is it a case of, if someone says, I want this model but with all these different changes, is that something that you just do, it just happens?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, as long as they're willing to. Obviously, at the end of the day, you've got to buy the kits to get the parts. Like, just being all cards on the table. I'm never gonna sprinkle something with sprinkles for I'll always say it as it is. Yeah, we can do whatever. Like, we can literally take a knight and then create whatever you want with it. We can take your character, replace arms, replace legs. We've got the complement of staff that have both converting, sculpting ability to be able to give you, whatever you want. And as a little early sort of pre-release before we actually launch it, there's a service that we're going to be sort of bringing to light in the next couple of weeks or months, whereby you can choose any character that you want, be it in artwork and that doesn't have a model, and we can create that model for you. So that is something.
No, that's dangerous.
We really want to push the specialising in characters even further, so that there's a couple of characters that are close to my heart that, being frank, we haven't put images up yet, but there's, for example, certain models from certain armies that I'm super passionate about that haven't got models yet, that models will be coming, that basically take a certain bit of artwork or take a certain description in a book or whatever, and they create that model and bring it to life. And it's something that it combines the converting side and the sculpting side into one item for a customer to go, here's this bit of artwork, I want this model. And it's as simple as that. That's what we're going to be doing.
That's awesome, but I can also see that being one of those things where people just go, oh no, I have no excuse now. This is a thing that's available. I can get this. I really like the idea of that. Like, as I say, I mess with everything that I put together. Actually being able to just find that one picture and just go, I want that. Just exactly that, and get it. That is the one thing where I think a lot of the stuff that Games Workshop has done, there are things that are lacking in terms of certain characters, like characters that haven't been updated, or characters that are still kind of, they're still in like their second or third edition forms. And
I totally understand that, but again, I go back to the position of hating to be in their position. Imagine the way I look at it in that dynamic is like, imagine having being the bird returning to the nest, and you've got, rather than having 5 chicks screaming at you to get the food out your mouth, you've got 5 million. Like, everybody wants their favourite character. Oh, I want Carandrus. I want this guy. I want this guy. I want this guy. I want Ezekiel. I want Lucius. We all want our favourite characters to have a new model and have that lovely crisp new cast. And I would hate. I'd hate to be in their position, because they're like, oh God, who do I please first? You know what I mean? Like, so like, it's completely understandable. Like, but yeah, in the same respect, there are models in the range. Like when Ragnar was redone, that was incredible. It's such an awesome model that there's some really, really cool prolific characters that have old models that do deserve something to justify their character and anything. And I'm sure we'll get them, but they are turning those wheels as quick as possible on the machine, and it's just a case of trying to get out there. I know Elder players, for example, like we've had various Elder characters in the recent, and you get them out of the pack and they're fine cast still, or they're metal ones, and it's just like, the character's incredible, like got really good background, whatever, but the model just is, being frank, time has passed, it's served its purpose for a very long time, and you're like, I just wish it had this great new model, but we'll get them, I particularly like the curveballs that GW do. I like the fact, like, they bring out Ephrael Stern, or they bring out, I like these characters that nobody thinks of. People forgot them, like, from a book like 10, 15 years ago, and then they just go bang, and everyone's like, oh my God, and it distracts you from the 300 models that you want changed. You know what I mean? Like, it's really it's really interesting, and yeah, like, I'd hate to be in a position, but I completely sympathise and understand with everybody that's like, do this next, do this, do this. It's just like,
it's just like we all want not just the things that we play, but also stuff that we don't even play, because it'd be so cool to see new things for them as well. And it's like, I feel like I'm one of those people who is always like for the love of everything, please give us more Xenos stuff. More,
Yeah.
more Eldar, more Dark Eldar, more Tyranids especially. I did a video the other day where I realised they hadn't had a model since 2014, and I was like, oh, come on, just give us something for that.
I totally get you. Like, the thing is like, look, it's that GW, the company that they are, like, they're not like they're not dissimilar to any other company that produces products and produces things. They are working way in advance. So just because you're not seeing it currently now, like the iPhone 11 or whatever, blah blah, that phone was designed like 3-4 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like that, and they've got all the new phones for the next 5-10 years ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it is just a thing of patience, which is another really cool thing to talk about briefly. Like, the problem is again, patience is this thing that is being diluted as time passes with the likes of Amazon and next day delivery and like, you know, takeaway to your door and all this kind of stuff. Society, and not trying to go too deep in conversation, but society is like becoming quite impatient with things. You know what I mean? Like, it's like why is it not done? It's done now. Oh God, you've got the ability to do it now. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know, like even at Siege, we have a waiting list for we have 3 waiting lists, one for characters, one for small projects, and one for armies, and obviously because they all take respectively longer time to execute. And it's the same with like companies like GW or whatever. Like, they've got a production schedule of what they need to produce, and admittedly, you have to look at it from a business perspective, because they are not a hobby, they are a business. Marines are their top selling product. You can't argue with that. All right, okay. The reality is of course they're going to facilitate models for that range, because that's what sells the most. It's obvious. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, other races, you will get miniatures and they will be coming out, but you just, unfortunately, it's just a waiting game. And then when look, you can't, no one can, like Elder players, Tyranid players, and all these other players, you have got miniatures that are plastic that are still usable and workable. Admittedly, they're not the freshest sculpts or the newest sculpts or newest casts. However, no one has been silenced quicker and more adamantly than Systems of Battle players, because now they cannot argue or cannot even say we don't have a range, because they've got everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's, you know, all the other factions and races, they are going to get miniatures, obviously, and then you're not going to get forgotten. It's just a case of, as a business, you have to look at what brings in revenue and what is more acceptable, and you have to facilitate that first. Admittedly, I think there's enough lieutenants now for Space Marines, but like, joking aside, like, and you know, everyone will be rewarded in time, but you've just got to have that patience and make do with the best of what's available currently. And if you don't, then just convert stuff. You know, that is a lot of people want that stock thing that's available, but half of the beauty and fun of this hobby is making your own miniatures and coming up with things.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
You know, like, just because you might not be able to use them at tournaments because you converted them yourselves or whatever, but around your mates, you can go, right, well, that's a Carnifex. It doesn't look like it. It looks like a snake. It doesn't matter. Like, I've made it. It's, do you know what I mean? It's a Carnifex.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, the hobby is not restricted to allow you to have that freedom of creation. You know, this is how ingenious the whole 40k Age of Sigmar thing is you can represent the things that you want essentially with whatever you want, as long as you get the okay or the tip of the hat from your friend, you know. So just because you haven't got new models, it's not the end of the world. As much as it pains me, like any other hobbyist, taking the business side of things off, there are models that I'd love to see new ones off. I'm like, why haven't that one been done? Why isn't it? But you just gotta wait, you know. Like, it's like anything. But yeah, it's super interesting.
And especially if you're like a veteran of the setting, you already know you're gonna have to wait. Like, no matter what faction. Well, I say no matter what faction you play. I mean, even there's still like some stuff for Space Marines that relatively still pretty old. I mean, I know Primaris is replacing pretty much everything slowly over time, but there's still the occasional thing that you look at it. I'm thinking specifically like the Servitors from the Space Marine range that were like came out in like 1999 or something. It's like even they've got to wait for some stuff. Like, there's just the patience thing is definitely something that I think it's just so easy to be impatient now that everything is instant. I had a thing literally earlier today whilst I was setting everything up, and I went to load something up, and it was just one of the websites that I use, and it took like 5 seconds to load the page, which I'm not used to. And I sat there and I was like, why is this taking so long? And then
we're all guilty of it.
I properly like had a moment where I thought, no, It's not taken that long. You used to have dial-up. You know what it means for something to take a long time. That's not it. Chill out. It's like, it's so easy to just be like, now, oh.
It honestly baffles me that there are people that have never experienced like a Nokia 3310 with Snake on it. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's like everyone's like, oh, I've got a smartphone. Like I can do whatever I want. Do you know what I mean? Like I can. Yeah. But like I'm sure you'll agree with me. We're back in the day when you had a phone that didn't have all these apps on it, that didn't have all these things on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it is funny because there are certain things that you just can't mitigate with speed or with things like that, and you can't make them any quicker than they are. The thing is, though, with all this being said, like the current GW release schedule is bonkers. I'm quite happy to admit this. I've got in the storeroom, I've got a shelf that's got my grey shame on it, and the thing is like I can't add any more to it because it's bad. Like, John, it is really bad. Like, the thing is like with their current release schedule, like, if they were delivering everything that you wanted instantaneously or as quick as you want, everyone would be like the biggest hobby butterfly in the world. Do you know what I mean? Because it'd be like, oh, this has come out. Oh, this has come out. You'd be everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So
it's one of those things where, again, I remember like starting to play 40k in 3rd edition, and when Necrons and Tau dropped, those ranges dropping as quickly as they did was insane. It was like, oh my god, there's so many new models. What the hell is this? This is incredible. That is now just like every month. Like for the last however, like maybe year or so, maybe 2 years now, Games Workshop has just been consistently releasing brand new kits pretty much on a weekly basis, and that only got faster after they were able to start production up again. We're in a position where it's just like you just look at how much they're putting out, and
100%. I mean, I'd love to know. I mean, for anyone watching, I would personally love to know what models people are waiting for the most. So, like, put in the comments what model you want most, because it's just interesting to see what everyone else wants and see. The thing is I think they're doing it again. I've always been a GW fanboy because I fell in love with the setting and the game and all of that from a very young age, thanks to my gran. But like, the thing is like, you have to understand that there are certain things that no matter how quick mobile phones, technology, and all these things happen, there are things which time has to be spent on, like commission painting, like converting, like freehand, or any of these things that are involved within painting miniatures, and nothing in the world will make that quicker.
Yeah.
I don't see a day anytime soon. Maybe I'm not going to say my lifetime, but I don't see a day anytime soon where the quality of miniature painting that is out now will ever be replaced with a robot. I don't see that ever happening. For a very long time. Do you know what I mean? For a very long time. And if I'm wrong, then okay, fair enough. But I still think people will appreciate the art form and appreciate the ability to have bespoke stuff that like Siege offers. And I think that is something that time will not erode. And unfortunately, patience will still have to be had, because unfortunately it's a human doing it, or it's the design process for a new miniature. I mean, obviously, like any miniatures company doesn't really divulge how long it takes to make a miniature, or in the design, the conception, the artwork, drawing, or any of this kind of stuff. And it's very easy to see a company or a business as this thing that you just stuff comes out of it, but you don't see everything behind it and go, oh, well, there's a room of 10 people designing that new range or that new character or whatever. I feel bad for squat players, because I know it's a big joke in the community and a big thing, but like, if you've been looking at any of the new art, any of the new books and things that I've seen, like as in like the little snippets and leaks and things like that you've seen, like I think they are coming back, and I reckon that there is an opportunity or a gap for them to come back. And I tell you what, Sisters players were waiting a long time. Squat players have been waiting an eternity. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's but it's interesting that no avenue is really closed off at the minute. Like, even with like was it the Zote that they brought out? Like even really classic stuff. That's like another ethereal Stern. Like they've just gone, boom, there's a Zote, and I'm like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? Do you know what I mean? So it's a real interesting one.
The thing with like how long it takes from like conception to sculpting in design and then production and stuff. Something that I found super interesting about the new Necron stuff is the new Locust heavy destroyer. Because I saw that and immediately went, I've seen that before. Yeah, I've seen that before. When did I see that? And it was concept art by Jez Goodwin,
Yeah.
when Necrons were first released in third, like as its own army, and I had a moment of like, oh my god, that's like that concept has been around for what, like probably close to 2 decades now,
100%. Yeah.
and now it's being made.
I know exactly what you feel like, because the thing is, there's two sides to that. It's like you've got people that are quite new into the hobby that have no, and it's not no fault of their own, but they've got no knowledge of any of that, their old stuff, and they just see these things like, oh, it's a new model, it's really cool, blah blah whatever. But then you've got a lot of older people that have been in the hobby a lot longer. I mean, there's no elitism involved in that at all whatsoever, but it's just a case of like, it gives you the memory of your childhood coming to realise. Do you know what I mean? It's a really lovely thing they're doing. Like, you know. Yeah, like it's awesome. Like I think, as I said, like, I think we are in the greatest moment within our hobby and our industry. Like that we are on the precipice of it becoming this vast. You think the community is big now? When the media side of things kicks in, I mean, the Astartes, that what that gentleman produced is exceptional, and and that brought a host of people into there, because they're like, wow, Space Marines are actually merciless, cold-hearted, methodical. That is what everybody assumes a Marine to be.
Yeah.
In realization, like, you know, and again, the first film that came out, which we won't mention, like, you know, it done a job, and it was the first step on that staircase to where I hope we're going to go. Where in 5-10 years time or whatever, we do have, you know, a film that your mate, your buddies can get excited for, like you do for Star Wars, or like you do for any of these huge epic things. You get the opportunity to go down to the cinema with your mates and come out and about it and ruin it for someone in the queue. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, like, you know, it's like, you know, but it is coming, and for every facet of the industry, for commission painting, for you know, for YouTubers, for it is on the precipice. It's like being on a roller coaster and you're literally about to go over the tip. Do you know what I mean? It's super good for the community and all industries within that. But yeah,
the speed at which it's happening as well is massively impressive, given that they had, I mean, Games Workshop had, for a start, like almost no web presence for so long.
Yeah,
the fact that they've caught up as quick as they have is massively impressive to me. Like, I used to do web design for a living, and there were companies that already had decent web presences that I worked with that have not made half the progress that Games Workshop has made in like twice the amount of time, because they just done nothing with it. Whereas it looks like someone actually sat down at GW and went, we need to sort this out right now, let's go.
Yeah,
just do it. We need to sort it.
But massive hats off to them, because at the end of the day, look, that we all know that there was a period of time where it wasn't facilitated as best as it could have been. Do you know what I mean? And the reality is that they have done a stellar job at going, cool, we done that. Let's forget about it, and let's just deliver what we should have done. Do you know what I mean? And you can't fault them for that. You know, in the time, like you said, in the time frame that it's taken them to go, oh, we've made a bit of an error there. Let's rectify it. And you know, they've done a phenomenal job. Again, like, it's just super exciting. Like, you know, I feel I would love to know what it's like for someone who's never been exposed to this community to join it at this point where it is now. And that's why I think the work that, like, for example, you do, and loads of other channels and gaming channels and all these different bits and bobs is really good, because it gives them this. Right now, when I was a kid, all I had was White Dwarf, and that used to come out every month, and that was your, like, oh, White Dwarf's here. There was no, I had dial-up internet, or I had to beg my parents to get dial-up internet at one point. Do you know what I mean? Like, the reality is that there was no website, there was nothing to go on. So White Dwarf was my, like, exposure and saturation of that thing that I loved every month, other than going down to Games Workshop on the weekend. Nowadays, with your mobile phone, you can just, anywhere you are, you can look at miniatures, watch battle reports, watch community videos, watch your favourite YouTube, all these different things that you are absolutely inundated, flooded with stuff about this hobby and this thing, and it's such an incredible time to be getting into it. Like, it's just mind blowing. Like, I used to be happy just getting White Dwarf once a month. Wow, those models look great. There was like 3 or 4 new releases, not like a whole new range or like a, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and you could actually paint the model that comes out that month and go, yeah, I've done it. You know, like, now it's like, that's like, how do I do a whole army for, like, or 3-4 armies or 3 characters, or, do you know what I mean? It's just, It's just it's crazy good. You know
Some
what
of the
I mean?
things I remember distinctly was getting White Dwarf and trying to compare things that, like, because even when it was just White Dwarf, there were still like rumours and stuff, but they were even more unreliable than the vast majority of them are now. And it would be like, oh, some guy heard something from someone who knows someone who works at Games Workshop, and maybe this is going to happen. And
Yeah.
like you would have that over and over again, and half of it would be completely wrong, and the other half would be only vaguely, slightly, kind of accurate, but not really.
Yeah.
But you could still sit there and talk about it for absolutely hours. It would be a case of getting White Dwarf and having a game and just talking about things for an entire weekend. And
I remember
that's what you
getting
had to.
school bus, talking to my mates, flicking through White Dwarf, going, "Oh wow, look at that!" I remember stuff like that. You know, I didn't even have a mobile phone at that point in my life. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, you know, it's brilliant. So is there anything else you want me to answer, sort of like about commissioning, or is there like anything?
I'd say the other thing that I was going to ask about is like the kind of like the different levels of painting. So like when it comes to things like tabletop standard, and then like the kind of like the tiers between the different ones, and kind of what that entails in terms of how it's approached.
That's a really good question, and again, with the caveat of it's the Wild West, and everybody's perception of what a level is different. Do you know what I mean? The breaking it all down to a very simplistic, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but a very simplistic way to look at it is all levels is a greater investment of time. That's all it is. More stages of highlighting, more stages of attention to detail, bringing certain aspects of the models, giving the lavishment that they deserve, and things like that. Categorically, as a business, Siege does not paint what is deemed tabletop. Our minimum tier, which is bronze, is a premium gaming level, which is an above tabletop level as a minimum. That's what we paint. And it's not any form of elitism or anything like that. It's purely because, with the greatest respect to the team that we've got here at Siege, that the background and ability, we want to offer a product that not only looks great when you put it on the tabletop, but it looks great in your cabinet as well. And that's what we pride ourselves in at our minimum standard. There's nothing wrong with tabletop. Again, being completely open and black and white. If you want to just get stuff on the table quickly with your mates, there's avenues and ways to do that. Go ham, go crazy. It is great for what you want to use it for, but if you know, with us and what we are as a business, we are a premium painting studio. Everything is an above tabletop as a minimum standard level. Bronze is that premium gaming. Silver is what we consider our display level. Gold is essentially our box art, which is executed by a senior team, which includes people who have worked in the leading company in the industry, and also competition winners and finalists. And then platinum is our competition standard, which is what you see in display cabinets at any aforementioned painting competition, be it Iron Skull, be it Golden Demon, be it any of the SMC or any of the competitions that you see. That is what our platinum level is. And levels are interpreted by the people that execute them, if that makes sense. Without going into too many business critical details and bits and bobs of what we do here at Siege, we have a system in place that maintains that consistency across all those levels for all the team. All right, okay. So again, as I was saying, the industry is unregulated, but Siege has built into it a regulating system that makes sure that we execute each level completely the same, be it one team member or the next team member, if that makes sense. So what that does for us is it gives us a consistent product that we can, and we do see it as a product because, as I mentioned, all cards on table, we are a business first and foremost, as much as we all are painters. And I don't really use the word hobby too much when it comes to Siege. I don't think you'll ever find it on the Siege website or any literature we put out, because, being frank, for anyone watching, you know, hobby is all well and good. I'm a hobbyist. When I take this t-shirt off and when I'm at home, I'm a hobbyist. And when I do my painting for competitions, I'm a hobbyist. When I'm here, it's work. And the reality is that that word is not used in this company at all whatsoever, because we are a business. We paint models for people. We charge money to do it. We teach people how to paint. We charge money to do it. It's as simple as that. You know, what I would say to people is, again, when you're shopping for someone to do commissions, whether it's someone in the bedroom, whether it's an established company, you use two things: look at their galleries, watch their videos, and look at reviews. They're the three things which should be your starting point for deciding which company you go for. Obviously, the position I'm in, I'm a little bit biased to Siege, but the reality is that the best thing for you to do is to look at those things to determine what your expectations are. You know, so if you see someone's painting and you like it, that's brilliant. That's a great starting point. Go through their back catalogue, have a look at stuff that they've done. If they've painted something that your army, then that's a great way for you to go, right, well, that's essentially what my miniatures are going to look like at a baseline before I start going, well, I want the shoulder pads purple, or I want the weapons glowing green, or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the thing. But levels, for intents and purposes, they are a system of betterment of quality. All right, okay, or at least that's what we have here. At the same time, it's just a further investment of time and execution quality, if that makes sense. You know, and that's what you should be looking for. We are a very traditional business in that all of the team and myself, even members of staff in the office who do paint, we understand that certain tools like airbrushes and things like that are used for a percentage of the process, and the majority of the work is done with brushes, as in hairy brushes, if that makes sense. Again, like I always relate it to the car industry, but like with car companies, certain car companies are known for sports cars, certain car companies are known for 4x4s, certain car companies are known for saloons.
Yeah.
You know, what we offer is essentially a very clean miniature that it resembles box art in the style, okay, if that makes sense. We don't overuse the airbrush. We don't use that as our predominant way of applying colour to miniatures. Maybe if it's a concentric scheme, then we'd obviously use that to get the majority of the work done. But then it stops, and everything else is done with a brush. There are companies that will use airbrushes predominantly and not as much brush. There are companies that will use a bit more of a balance of the two. It varies, but this is the whole reason as a consumer why not only should you search for what meets your financial budget, but also meets your expectation quality, but also meets the style. There are three things really: the style that you want the miniatures painted in, the quality you want them painted in, and the price that you want them painted in. They're the three things that, as a customer, if I was new into the industry and I was I didn't have the time to paint miniatures and I wanted someone to do it for me, they're the three things that I would, in my opinion, look at to determine where I go. And then after that, you look at things like reviews, you look at things like, you know, the consistency of their miniatures on their social media, you look at how the company's portrayed. You know, I mean, all these things, they're the things which, for me, are the benchmark of deciding where to go when you choose a miniature company to use. And that's levels really in a nutshell. Like, you know, levels can go as high as you want depending on the ability of the painter that's painting them. If you've got someone that maybe hasn't got the experience, you're only going to reach a certain point of execution. Whereas if you're getting Golden Demon winners or Iron Skull winners or Monty San Casino winners to paint your miniatures for you, then you're going to get a certain quality, if that makes sense. You know, so I try to make it as broad as possible and try to make it as unbiased. It's a bit difficult because obviously I'm in a certain position, but at the same time, if I take that hat off, that is what I would give anyone advice on looking for a company to use is take those things into consideration.
Yeah, something that I would actually add on to that is the style in which photos are taken, which might sound like a weird thing to say, but there are. I have done enough Photoshop stuff in my like in previous career and in doing all the YouTube stuff as well. You can tell when a photo has been manipulated in some way, whether it's messing with the contrast, whether it's bringing the lightness down and then exaggerating the color. You can tell when it's been done, and something that actually is not just in like commission painting or like miniature photography. Also, tattoo parlors do this as well.
Oh yeah,
where they will take stuff down. It's like they will take down certain colors and really emphasize things like blacks. There are some places that you will see a photo and go, that is insanely vibrant. How do they do it?
Yeah.
It's because it's not what you get. What you're getting there is something that is exaggerated to show the core colour of the army.
100%.
But it will not be like that when you receive it. It cannot be like that when you receive it. Whereas I've noticed that every photo that you guys put up is just, it's lit properly and that's it. There's no messing.
Thank you very much. That really means a lot, and I'll gladly explain why that is. Like going back to when I was in recruitment, the reason why I think I was how I done as well as I did there is because as recruitment consultants and estate agents have got a very bad stigma that they try and sell you a house, and in the photo it looks like a mansion, but then you get there it looks like a shed. Yeah. You know, and the thing is the way I was in recruitment was that I would tell a candidate or a customer, look, you're gonna hate the offices, but you're gonna love the people there, and the owners are great people to work for. And even if they didn't go for the job, they'd still go, well, I appreciate you being honest about the fact that is. And what I wanted to do when I started Siege, and it's all the way right back to the very beginning of the business, and you know, Joe's sitting to my right, and he'll laugh when I say this, but I've been using a knife up until recently. All truth being told, up until recently, I've been using an iPhone 5 or 6, I think it is, for the photography. Like, you know, and people laugh and go, why are you using such an old phone? Like, but the reality is it takes a good photo, and with the lighting rig, and obviously that we use here at the office for our professional photos and stuff, there is no requirement because of two factors, which is, being frank, and obviously it's his bias, the quality of the painting that we offer, and secondly, the way that it's photographed, and in that there's no filters and things like that. Obviously, I need to remain professional, but I would like to think that we offer visually what you see in the photos and what you see in the videos is when you open that box from us, that is what you get, you know. Yeah. And it's that same culture and same mentality that goes right back to when I was in recruitment, whereby if I told you the offices were crap, you would go there, think they are, see that they are, but the honesty and the appreciation for being that honest and upfront is valued more than the physical thing. Does that make sense? So, and that is really at the heart of the culture here at Siege, is that we don't want to offer products to people, because I see them as products, even though it pains me to see some of the models go to customers because I love them so much. But the reality is that we want to offer something that, quite frankly, you see in the photo and that's what you get. It's not, oh, let's whack the contrast up on that because we want it to look more red, or let's add some shadow to that. Just get the airbrush out and use that, not the airbrush, but the airbrush, digital airbrush, and do that. Do you know what I mean? And that's really, really important. It's that perception of quality and perception of, I pay for this, I get this, and that's really close to my heart as the owner of the company. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it. And the thing is as well is that it sets up expectations completely accurately, because you can look at the photos and go, that Blood Angels army looks great. That's what I'll get. If I ask for that, that is the thing that I will get. Whereas there are other places where you can look at the picture and go, you know, everything's super dark, everything's super saturated, like it's been touched up here and there, and it's like, okay, that looks great as a picture. Like, that's the thing, the photos, they look great, but they don't look accurate. And when it comes to selling a product, you need to give accuracy, not like fluff, don't you? You need to show people what they're going to receive, not just show them a pretty picture and then go, and then when they get it, it's like, well, the picture looked great, but this doesn't look like the picture.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because Joe and Abby in office will be extremely happy, because that means that I nicknamed the iPhone Betty. But I'm pretty glad that they'll be glad to know that the hard work they've put in of recent with the new sort of DSLR and stuff that we're using is paying off. Do you know what I mean? So I thank you ever so much for that. That's really, really kind of you.
I feel like it's something worth pointing out though, because it is just one of those things where a lot of what you do when you choose what you want is you go off what you see, and it's super easy to look at like an amazingly taken photo that's got all these shadows and all the right bits glowing stuff, and it's like, oh, that looks great, but you have to look at it and think to yourself, yeah, but. And if you have to look at it and go, yeah, but, you then need to find out actually what it will look like, whether it is going to be of that standard, whether the colours are going to be that bright, whether they are going to pop that much, whether it is just like digital in like trickery or enhancement or whatever. Whereas if you can just look at a photo and go, that's not been touched, that's how it looks, awesome, it gives you a completely clear idea instantly without any messing about, which is what you want.
That's why the videos that we have, like, you know, I like to. Anyone who knows our YouTube channel knows that the videos that are on there, like the showcase videos, the whole idea is that the model is there, and also my alarm's going off. That's really unprofessional. Anyone who watches our channel, or who subscribe to it, whatever, blah blah, like anyone who knows that or watches the videos will see that the models are all picked up. They're shown in all angles, like from underneath, from above, from all over. I've been doing it for 7 years. I say the same words over and over again, which is really annoying for me. But the reality is that like they're shown like bare, as in there's no sort of like angle for photography. It's all literally like, this is the miniature, this is what's been done. Make your assumptions and reservations based off of that. Does that make sense? It's the way that we want to portray stuff for the company, you know. And I think if you're completely black and white and tangible, people have to take it at face value. Whereas if there's things that take away from that, or it's been photoshopped, or it's been had a saturation increase, it immediately puts a blockage between someone. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's really really important.
It doesn't set expectations accurately is the
Yeah.
thing. And when it comes to something as personal as like as having your models painted by someone else, I feel like that expectation needs to be properly grounded in reality straight away, because it is a super personal thing. And there will be people, I'm sure, who have ordered stuff and gone, it looks great in that photo, I want exactly that, and then they've not said anything else. They've said, I want that, here are the models, off you go, and then got it and gone, this isn't actually what I asked for. What I asked for was this thing. The expectation was not set in what they would receive, it was set by an image that is supposed to look eye-catching and supposed to be something that grabs your attention and does, super well on social media or on Reddit or whatever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't lay the correct groundwork, and with stuff like that, you need to have that actual proper groundwork to go off, or the whole thing starts off in like a weird point where you're not really sure what's real and what isn't. So
no, that is really important. I think for anyone in any form of business, transparency and tangibility are two things which for anyone in any form of business you should carry forward. You shouldn't be relying on things to convince or direct or things like that. I think it's companies that produce high-end stuff, that you'll find that their marketing and their branding is very minimal, because they just go, well, here it is. Do you know what I mean? And that I think that's really evident in a lot of companies, not just our industry. I think it's evident in a lot of companies, and it's really important. So
yeah, just show people what they're going to get, and let them go from there. Don't dress it up in ways that aren't accurate. Don't try and force a certain perspective on something. Just go, this is what we can do, this is what we can offer. If you want to know more and if you would like that thing, then let's go.
Yes.
It's I think the cleanest and most honest way to approach it. So
I'm 100% all about that. Being honest, my parents brought me up to just say it as it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I was raised. Like, my dad would not tell me a spade is a spoon. Do you know what I mean? He'd just say as it is. Do you know what I mean? And I think you from personal opinion, if you're that way inclined, people either have to accept honesty or just not. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. But I hope that answers the long-winded way about levels and all those different bits.
Yeah, no, that's
yeah, but no.
I think this is essentially more turned into a podcast than a video, but it's been really good to not just talk about like the commission painting side of things, but also I think the kind of the hobby that surrounds it as well, because it's all interconnected and it's all linked, and I think also I've no doubt that there will be people who look at any kind of industry that's connected to a hobby and go, oh well, do they actually like the thing that they do, or do they like the thing they're attached to if they're making money off it?
Yeah,
it should be, if it's not completely obvious that you do love the hobby itself, and like a driving part of where you are now is entirely because of the hobby itself, then if anyone hasn't got that by this point, I'm assuming they just aren't listening. I don't know.
Perhaps, yeah. But I don't know. Like, I think that that even with commissioning, like touching upon it really briefly, like I think we would all be kidding ourselves if we said that we loved every single thing we painted. Like, being honest with you, like there are colour schemes and things that quite frankly, not just because of colour theory, but just don't work, or that don't work on the model. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't. But a client's vision is paramount compared to other things. You know what I mean? If a client wants it looking like pink and with yellow spots, he wants his Marines to look like Mr. Blobby, we have to paint those models. You know what I mean? Like it's unfortunately, that is the nature of the animal. You know, I would say to anyone that paints models to their friends, or is thinking of painting models to their friends, or starting their own thing, or whatever, you have to understand that you will be painting things you do not like. You will not like painting, but you have to just work through, because it's about delivering what the client wants, and that's the key thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a huge part of it that unfortunately I think a lot of people don't realise. Like, oh yeah, I'll get into it. Great, I'll paint my favourite models all the time. No, you won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time you'll paint the models you like are your ones. Yeah.
That's just the thing that makes it a professional industry. Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure most decorators don't love like every single house they decorate. I'm sure there'll be any number of them who put wallpaper up and think, why would you even do this to a room? But they will still do it, and it will still look good because it is their job. It's not something that's done for the hell of it or just to cover costs of hobby or whatever. It is a professional industry, and so even if you do want, I'm still blown away by the bacon themed Space Marines. Even if you do want bacon themed Space Marines,
I'll link you to the video, John. I honestly, and there's a few of them. I think, so yeah, I'll link you to the video because it is. Again, it's hilarious being able to say we've done the army. We've done it to a great standard, but the thing is like it's just hilarious. And quite honestly, hats off to Ben who painted it because it was his idea to do the purity seals as rashers of bacon, not mine or even the clients, because we didn't have anything to go on. We literally had a picture of a pack of bacon and a picture of a baby pig. Do you know what I mean? That's all we had to go off to paint the army. So yeah. But it shows the kind of real fun side of the industry as well that we get to do.
Definitely.
I think I'm just thinking off the cuff, obviously, about that army. But when I get off of obviously this, I'm sure Joe and some will say, "Well, you didn't mention that one, or you mentioned that," but because there's been so many that are just like, did we really do that? Do you know?
Well, what I'll do is when this video is live, I will put a link in the description to all of the social media stuff for Siege on the website.
Thank you.
But I'll pin a comment with like, essentially, if you send me some of your favourites, I will do a pinned comment with links to different army showcases as well. So
that's really helpful. Thank you.
Some of the, like, whether it's some of the favourites because of just how like insane they are, or just how good they look.
Yeah,
just a nice mix, and then people can see
that would be amazing.
A nice mix of the favourites of a just like overall quality or kind of just this scheme I really liked, and then things like Bacon Marines and.
I'll send you some of the funniest ones and some of what we'd like to think of some of the best ones. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. Honestly, John, I really appreciate it.
No, I really enjoyed that. It was a really good chat. I hope people got not just something about like commission painting as a whole, but I guess just how professional it can be, like especially in the case of Siege, like having that structure and having that approach to different projects and how to talk to clients, but also how still invested in the hobby you can be whilst also making it a professional industry. Like still having that crossover interest where it's like, yes, this is the job, this is the thing that provides the livelihood. Yeah. But you can still have like a massive appreciation for models, for painting for fun, for
100%.
Just the hobby sphere in general.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, there are so many projects that come in. I mean, Joe, even like being frank, like Louise found out her favourite model the other day as well. So like we've been saying since she joined, what's your favourite model? She's never been in the industry. She comes from a completely different background. I was like, what's your favourite model? She's learning them. She's like, oh, I love the the Emperor's Children guy with the guitar. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got leopard print and all this kind of stuff. Like the noise marine, and like so like we had Abby starting the office recently. She works on the media side, and like we're still trying to find out what her favourite model is and stuff. Like so it's like it's really funny seeing people like come into the business that have never really experienced miniatures or wargaming or any of that, and they're going, oh, I love that Emperor's Children noise. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just. It's such a funny thing, but good taste on that one.
That is a quality model. I've got 3 of those.
It's great. It's a great model. But yeah, a massive thank you for your time and for the opportunity to come on and have a chat with you. Like it's really, really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, that's been really good. As I say, I will link to everything Siege related in the description, so website and channel and social media stuff, and there will be a pinned comment where you guys can see just all of the best and all of the most ridiculous armies that have been worked on by Siege, and yeah, hopefully it would be good to do like an update thing on this at some point, like to kind of come back to it after like a few months or a year or something and see where things are, how things have changed, if there's been any kind of shift
That'd be lovely. Honestly, that'd be really lovely too. And obviously, whenever you want, it'd be lovely to have a chat. One thing I would say as well, I don't know. Again, I don't know, and I don't know when this is going up on, obviously on YouTube or whatever. But obviously, with everything that happened with Indomitus and all the releases and all that kind of stuff, we are giving a box away if anyone who is watching is interested in trying to enter that. So we are actually giving a box away on our channel as well. So if you are interested in sort of like trying to do that.
In that case, I will try and get this video out today. In that case, because then people can go and take a look at the competition, and they can.
Yeah, it's literally just it's all you have to do, really simple, is just put the word Indomitus as a comment on the video, and then just sub to the channel. That's all you need to do. So it's if you don't mind doing it, that'd be amazing. If it's later than that, then that's totally cool. We do have the giveaways and stuff on other socials, so you'll see those on there. But John, thank you ever so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and. As always, click all the things. There's an affiliate link in the description, and I will see you for the next one.